Good morning. The tragedy in Pittsburgh. What many people overlook is that the shooting took place at the time of a bris, covenant with God, for an 8-day-old child. This covenant is the same covenant that Abraham entered in with God when he was 99, Ishmael was 13, and Abraham's other child, Yitzchak, who was born to Sarah, was circumcised, as this little boy was, at 8 days old. The fascinating part about this, that this week's Torah portion, the Torah portion read on Shabbat, the Shabbat of the murders, is the portion that celebrates the circumcision of Abraham, how God appeared to him to heal him from his wounds, and for the celebratory circumcision of Isaac at 8 days. This is what was read before that horrific murder. Another point, the end of the Torah portion talks about the binding of Isaac, that Abraham was asked by God to offer Isaac as a sacrifice. Of course, God didn't want Isaac to be a sacrifice. He wanted to see if Abraham was willing to sacrifice his only child before God. And of course, Abraham overcame his natural love, which was extremely great because he loved all people, certainly his children, certainly his only child from Sarah, certainly loved him with all of his heart. And he controlled his love, overcame his love, to fulfill what he perceived to be the will of the Creator that was communicated directly to him. Otherwise, he would never have even thought of this. And this is the end of the Torah portion, the binding of Isaac. And this Torah portion has a message. It starts with the covenant that Abraham had and has with God, and with his children with God, how they will continue this covenant, starting with Isaac at 8 days old, as this little boy was circumcised at 8 days old in this synagogue. And the end of the Torah portion, God gives us an insight into the future. I have made you a holy nation. I've made you a chosen nation. But there will be times when you will be offered as a sacrifice. People will kill you not because of what you've done to them, but because of what you represent. You represent the connection that man has with God. You are the epitome. You are the paradigm. Isaac is the paradigm of one who worships God totally. And these children of yours who will have a circumcision at 8 days will have to at one point realize that they may have to make the ultimate sacrifice for who they are. Not because of what they've done, not because of their qualities, not because of their inhumanity, their cruelty. On the contrary, people will hate them because of this relationship and will make them into a sacrifice. The fascinating part about this, horrific part, but it's fascinating nonetheless, is that the covenant with God through the circumcision is mentioned 13 times in the previous Torah portion. And the rabbis tell us there are 13 covenants for every bris, for every circumcision. Yes, there were 11 people murdered, but there were also 2 more injured, making it a total of 13. 13 covenants. These victims were the channel of God's covenant with mankind. And this is a statement that God is connected to man, despite the horrific actions of what some of mankind can do. Nonetheless, God is still there and God is still connected. These holy martyrs went directly to heaven, on the highest level of heaven, for they were killed only because of their relationship with God as a holy people. Don't tell me it was because they support immigration. Jews were murdered because they were rich, and because they were communists, and because they were poor, and because they were too learned, or they were too stupid, because they were too flashy or not flashy enough. Jews have been murdered for any reason in the world, any excuse in the world. But ultimately it's because they have a covenant with God. And each one of these people, dead and injured, represent a covenant. Covenant is permanent. This has shaken up our country. Why is it shaken up the entire United States? Because people recognize that something done in a holy place at a holy time is a violation of everything sacred that this country stands for. It is for this reason that there is such unity against this outrage. And I appeal to others who listen not to use this as a political baseball bat to injure other people. Rather, we have to focus on the love and care that we have to give others. That does not mean that when we love and we care for others, that we have to bring them into our country. Our country is our country. We can choose who we want in our country. Our job is to help inspire other countries, as well as people of this country, to assist the rest of the world in teaching people how to care for themselves, how they can provide enough food and energy and clothing and housing for the people in their country. And it's not that difficult. Central America is blessed with incredible resources, incredible good climate. The only thing that's lacking is the will of its leadership to harness those natural resources, to utilize them for the benefit of their population. This is the job of the United States, to help others help themselves, to teach them how they can help themselves, and how they can provide for themselves, exactly as the American spirit taught the original pioneers to fend for themselves, to take care of themselves, to work with others so that each one of us can live a fulfilling life and care for our loved ones and be kind and compassionate to those who come within our circles.